broadcast. My name is Carol Pate, and we're going to talk about life after death and ghosts. For those of you that don't know me, I have been psychic from birth and mediumistic from birth. I've seen spirits all my life. I didn't know that I was seeing something I wasn't supposed to see, and I would know things I wasn't supposed to know. Later, as I grew up, I ended up getting involved with the police, and I worked on several murder cases. And consequently, I've done about 12 TV shows, psychic investigator and psychic detective. And they're apparently being reshown around the world, which is really kind of neat. So I have a lot of experience dealing with the paranormal because I have dealt with it from day one. So I thought I'd talk a little bit about life after death. I'm going to start with explaining about the soul. A lot of people think that the soul is separate from who they are. And actually, you are your soul. People don't know it, but you are your soul. You are complete within a physical body. And when you step out of this physical body, you are in a body, which is your soul body. It's material, believe it or not. It has DNA, RNA, it's material. But it's fast. The molecules are moving very, very quickly. I guess the best way to explain it is you take an ice cube, which is material, solid. You put it in a pan. You turn up the heat. The molecules begin to spin. They begin to move. As they begin to move faster and faster and faster, it turns into water, then into gas, vapor, steam. Can't see it. It's still there, but you can't see it. Your molecules within your soul body, is moving slowly within this material body. When this material body dies, your soul body steps out and the molecules begin to move very quickly until you can no longer see that soul. Okay? Doesn't mean the soul isn't there. Your eye can't visually see it. Cameras can photograph. Tape recordings can tape record the voice. But normal, I'm not going to say normal, there's no such thing as normal. Average people won't necessarily see spirits. There are some people that have the gift of mediumship or the ability to make contact with those who have lost their physical body. They can see the soul. Animals can see the souls. They can see people, or other animals even for that matter that have passed. So the neat thing about it is when you step out of this physical vehicle, you will look and you have your hands, you have your arms, you have your body. But the scary thing about it is you don't know that you've lost your physical body because you remain identical unless you look over and see that it's on the ground or in a car or in a chair or in a bed or wherever it happens to be. Then you'll know that you've lost your physical body. Other than that, you will not go through any major shifts or changes immediately. You'll feel the same, except lighter. So very often people who die specifically instantaneously, heart attacks, that sort of thing, they don't know that they've passed from their physical body. They don't know there has been any change. The only thing is, there's a shift in time. It's like a timelessness. And it's like whatever you happen to think of Like if you think about your home, all of a sudden you're in your home. If you think about being with a friend, all of a sudden you're with the friend. But there's no real time. It's kind of like a dream state. Interestingly enough, you're going to think everyone's crazy. You're going to want to know why they're not responding to you, why they're not reacting to you. And you're going to try to get their attention, and they're not going to look at you or act like they hear you, because they don't. And you don't know what's happening. And then the next minute, you're at your funeral or memorial. And then you get to go through that. You get to experience your memorial or funeral. And then you're trying to comfort those that are there. Or you're getting mad at the speakers because they're not saying the things that you think they should say. And I've had that happen at a few funerals. With spirits, that is. Not my own. And you don't know what to do. Because nobody's told you what to do when you lose your physical vehicle, your body. They don't teach you in church. Nobody talks about it, because you don't talk about things like that. That's forbidden stuff. So, what I tell people, and you'll probably hear me say this a few times throughout the broadcast, is if you ever find yourself not knowing whether or not you are in body or out of body, all you have to do is put your hand on a table or something material. If your hand stops, you're in your body. If your hand goes through, you're no longer in your body. I know that sounds really weird, but that's the truth. And if that should happen, hopefully that won't happen for a very long time, but we all get to go through the same experience. That's how we leave this plane of existence, like it or not. When you find out that you're no longer in your physical body, ask for a bright white light to be shown to you. Ask for the light to be shown to you in the name of Jesus Christ. Or just ask for the light. You don't even have to use the name of Jesus Christ. Just ask for the light. And it'll be shown to you. And when you see that light, if you step into that light, you will automatically be taken to heaven. It's your instant doorway through to heaven, or through the tunnel, if you will. Whatever your belief system is doesn't make a bit of difference. Whatever your religion is doesn't make a bit of difference. You can be a Satanist, a paganist, Buddha, atheist, whatever. But if you step into that light, you're safe. You're absolutely safe. Now, why don't people know about the light? Because they don't teach it. Now, it's in the Bible. It's in the New Testament 200 times. I believe it's actually a little over 200 times it's mentioned. But it's not taught as to what it really, really is. So why don't people go into the light when they do see the light? Because the light is shown for everyone, but for a period of time, and then it's gone. People are afraid of the light. They're afraid because they don't know what it is, and they don't know what will happen. They feel the beckoning. There's a beckoning that you feel with the light. But it's like you've been taught, or you're afraid that you'll be judged. And that if you go into that light, you'll be sent to hell. Because none of us are pure, none of us are perfect, none of us have led this wonderful, perfect life. But I'm here to tell you, it's not true. It's a lie. But that's why a lot of people get earthbound. And a lot of people, when I say a lot of people, I'd say probably 2/3 of the population
Or earthbound.
Earthbound. A lot of times they don't know they've died. A lot of times they think they should stay because their family's mourning and they need to be with their family. They need to help their family. they've always worked with their family, they've always helped their family, and now all of a sudden they can't. So they feel this responsibility to stay. Or maybe they're attached to the house and the property. Or some cases, maybe a piece of furniture, surprisingly. Or jewelry, or money. Or a person. Or they just don't want to go anywhere. They want to stay where they're at because they like that comfort and the safety of being where they're at. They've had it for so long, they don't want to change. And the one thing about humans is we don't like change of any kind. So why are there hauntings? Because people move into people's houses, that they died in the house, or they were attached to the house, the family lived there, the family's grown up and they've left there, and that poor person is still there. Because they didn't go with the family, they attached themselves to the house and property. Or it was their property. Nobody's going to have their property. And so you come in, you buy their property, their house, and you begin to redo their house. You're tearing down a wall here, and a door over here, and a window over here. Hey, what's that person doing in my house, tearing up my house and redoing my house? Who are they? What are they? Are they ghosts? What are they doing here? I'll make them leave. I'll do what I can. I'll scare them out. You got a haunting. Sometimes people live in such misery in a location. Maybe they fought all the time. I have one case where this man beat his wife on a regular basis. These were wealthy people too. And the people that moved into their house after they had passed, they both left around the same time. They could hear him beating her throughout the house. And then one day, the man took over her husband, and he began to beat her. That's when they called me. I went in there, and I saw what happened, and I got them both into the light. And it was a huge relief for them. He wasn't really wanting to go into the light, but he did go into the light. As I got her into the light, he did follow. He didn't want to let her go. She belonged to him. Personal property issues. And then the husband straightened out. He never touched his wife again. Because this man was getting great joy out of actually being able to possess the husband and use him to carry on with what he thoroughly enjoyed, which was beating a woman. Being powerful. Sometimes the person commits suicide in the house or on the property. And when you commit suicide, you're earthbound. You break spiritual laws. It's the law of self-murder. And that binds you to that house and that property. Or it can bind you to the gun that you use to kill yourself, or the knife, or whatever it happens to be. Until the appointed time for your natural death, or unless you have affected others into doing what you did, which is commit suicide, in which case your stay gets lengthened. I've been called on many, many cases of suicide, and I've been able, through the Band of Mercy, to do the lifting and get them into the light, which frees them. But I had one case where there was a young man that committed suicide. It was in the 1800s, and he hung himself in a shaft. It was for an elevator. The elevator wasn't even there anymore. And there had been 5 suicides. All of them had hung themselves in that elevator shaft. And it was like a 3 or 4 story house. It was here in Little Rock, as a matter of fact. And these ladies came to see me, and they all had rooms. And they were living in the house. And they were feeling really, really suicidal. The house was very, very dark. And I went to the house, and I saw this young man. he made himself known to me, and he enjoyed getting these women to commit suicide. In the 1800s, he was gay. His aunt found out about it, and he was, back in those days, everything was persecuted. He felt persecuted, so he hung himself. And so he was really, really angry at females in particular. And so he tried to get them to commit suicide. I was able to get him into the light. And after I got him into the light, the house instantaneously brightened up. You could physically see it brighten up. And that was the end of the suicides. Never happened again. This is very, very common. Now, I know there's a lot of people that go out there and they do their ghost busting. And it's all fun and games and, let's see how many spirits that we can catch on film, or maybe they'll talk to us and we can go ahead and get their voices on tape. And isn't this just scary and fun? These are people. These are human beings. And especially children. It just breaks my heart when I hear about children. And children get earthbound too. They get earthbound. I just hope. No, that's mean. But I gotta say, if these people think it's such a fun thing to do, maybe they should be the ghost on the other side, trying desperately for help, scared to death, doesn't know what's happening to them, and being used for a hoot, for fun. These are human beings. They're you, they're me. You are a ghost in your physical body. We're all ghosts in a physical body. We're all souls in a physical body.
Would you want that to happen to your mother, your child?
Exactly, especially your child. Can you imagine your child is scared to death, and for some reason they're earthbound? And it happens to children. Very often the mothers or the fathers, they mourn so hard for that child, the child can't leave. They can't go on. They get earthbound. Or the child doesn't know what's happened to them for whatever reason. And maybe it's, there are situations where you need to experience what it is to be earthbound. Got that answered. Part of it. So you have to go through that experience. Yeah, I had a mentor. He was a doctor, a neurosurgeon, as a matter of fact, and a teacher. And he kind of took me under his wing. I had sleeping sickness, and he found out that I was mediumistic and I could do odd things. So he started testing me and working with me. And he was very into hauntings and that sort of thing. So he took me on a number of trips. Well, he showed me where there was these hauntings that were going on, and he would let me like make contact with the spirits, and he thought that was really, really neat. Well, he had a few spirits around his house that he wanted to keep around his house. And I told him, I said, you really need to let me help them get into the light. You really, really need to do that. And he goes, I need them. I need them to be here with me. I said, it's not right. These are people. They're human beings. They don't need to be held in place by you or anyone else. They need to go into the light to be redeemed back to God. He goes, nope, I won't let you do anything with them. I will not let you do anything with them. Okay. He got upset with me for working in murder cases. He knew he had this thing that if I worked on murder cases, eventually someone was going to murder me. So he said, if you're going to be that suicidal, I can't work with you anymore. And I went, oh, okay. I'm going to really miss you, but okay. Well, he died. And his caregiver was a lady that worked in hospice, really sweet woman. She came to me and she said, he needs your help. It was a year after. Okay. I wasn't going to do a thing. He wouldn't let me do anything for them. He didn't ask me to do anything for him. I legally couldn't.
Define legally.
Spiritual law. Spiritual law. If you're not asked, you can't just do it. You have to be asked by a family member or by the person themselves for that kind of help. So I went to his house, and all of the spirits that were there that he had bound in, unknowingly, I think, nevertheless bound in, I released him, and I released all that he had bound in, so they were all free. And he possessed her body for just a few minutes, and he hugged me, and he said, I won't see you again in this lifetime, but thank you. So I think sometimes we have to experience what it's like to be on that other side. It's scary. For a lot of people, it's terrifying. There's a movie called The Others. You should watch it. Yeah. It gives really, really good insight. I think people know it. They need to know that. You think of a ghost as being some sort of entity that's over here and non-human. And I hear them talk about it on television. But I'm telling you, you are the ghost. I'm going to open it up for questions.
Okay, I'm going to start with the questions that came to us early.
Okay.
And then I'll get to some of the ones from tonight. Is there a difference between spirit attachment and spirit possession? And if so, can the daily lifting remove spirit attachments and possessions?
Yes, yes. The daily lifting can do an exorcism. It's awesome. Believe me, it's absolutely awesome. Of course, the more authority you have, the better off you are. I would not go out there after doing liftings for a week or two and do a exorcism using the lifting. I don't think you developed enough authority. I wouldn't even consider that for about a year. But yes, for your own protection, it can remove the demonic, spirit attachments, entities, all sorts of things, okay? Now, what is a spirit attachment? Almost everyone has spirit attachments, believe it or not. That's that chatter that's going on in your head, or that phobia that all of a sudden you're afraid of leaving your house, or you're afraid of driving your car, or you're afraid of going over a bridge, or you get this weird phobia out of nowhere. That's a spirit attachment. A spirit possession is where a spirit attachment possesses the body, pushes the soul of the person that has ownership of the body back and takes over. And that can be all the way to multiple personality. Yes, and the lifting will take care of all of those things. Absolutely. You can find the lifting on carolpate.com. Daily lifting. Please use it. And if you use it, please use it daily. It really, really helps.
And the daily liftings, even on there, even if you don't sign up to be on the website. And if you do sign up, we don't do anything with that information. That's
thank you.
At all.
No, nothing. No, you don't get on any mail outs. No, nothing.
She also asks, she said that she has a lot of questions about crystals and hopes that you might do a session about crystals or in the future.
I can do that. If people are interested, I can go ahead
and how to program them, etc.
On how to program crystals, how to use crystals, what various crystals are used for, because different crystals do different things. And stones as well. We can do some of that. I'm not all knowledgeable about it, but I do have some knowledge.
You actually ask the stone what they're used for.
I do. I'm weird that way. I talk to stones and to all sorts of animals, and
everything has
Everything has consciousness and intelligence. Everything's a part of God. Can't help it.
Except?
Plastic. But plastic is a wonderful barrier protection.
All right. Last June, the lady that's writing said that she lost her son-in-law to an overdose. And she has his daughter living with her. So I guess she's the guardian of the daughter. Would that give her permission to pray him into the light?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And is there any type of formula or something that she can do? Can he, to ask him to help watch over her? Would that be necessary?
No, I don't think that's necessary. First of all, he's gonna have to get some counseling when he gets into the light. He's gone through some major trauma, so he's gonna need some downtime, if you will, to acclimate to the light. But the prayer getting the loved ones into the light is the one that she would want to use in getting him safely into the light. And you would say, I would please ask for the Band of Mercy to locate and use his full name, who lived at the address as close as possible, city and state, the address, city and state, no zip code. I would please ask that loved ones be brought forth, healers be brought forth. If they are willing, I would ask that they be taken directly into the light. If they're not willing, I would ask that they be taken directly. If they're not willing to go into the light, I would ask that they be taken directly into the most appropriate protected sanctuary until they're prepared to go into the light. I would ask for all this to be done now in the name of Jesus Christ. One time.
Is there any type of prayer formula she could use to help the granddaughter, the child? To ask for comfort.
I think that she needs to explain that her father's safe now, that she need not to worry. As a matter of fact, I really think it would be a good idea to do the prayer with the daughter.
I bet she could ask for spirit comfort, for comfort.
Divine spirits of comfort. But I think it's explained because
she's 9.
When people don't go into the light due to suicide, they often show up in dreams, and they're not okay in dreams. And the daughter may be having dreams of him.
Would the overdose be considered suicide if it was accidental?
If it were truly accidental, but he still could be stuck. I wouldn't take the chance.
Okay. And the question, we're having a lot of questions, what prayer do you use if a loved one has passed and you just did it?
Sending a loved one into the light.
And that, all you have to do is say loved one into the light in the search bar on carolpate.com.
Carolpate.com, yeah, exactly.
This lady says every now and again, she feels, it could be a man, I'm sorry, the name could go either way. Yeah. So this person says that they feel a cold spot on their head. Would that be a loved one letting them know that they're there?
I doubt it. I'm not really sure what that is.
Do you feel a coldness when a spirit is around you?
But it's a wraparound coldness. The actual temperature will drop. You can gauge the temperature. It will actually drop 10 points.
Wow.
When I work with my spirit guides, when I work with those that have passed over, because sometimes I'll be with a client in here, in my chair, and they hand me a photograph of their loved one who passed over, and I make contact with that loved one, it can get cold. I get all surrounded by cold air.
You usually wear a blanket.
I do wear a blanket. I get really freezing cold. So I get icy cold. My temperature drops on top of it.
And this is perfect segue into the next question.
Okay.
Are you able to connect with people who have passed away in your readings? And would it be everyone or just selective?
It depends. Yes, I do mediumship. I need the contact.
Why don't you explain the difference real quick between psychic and medium?
Okay, psychic is being able to know the personality, why people do what they do, psychic energies, what took place. I can see things that, like murder cases, I'll actually see the murder take place. Yeah, I can tap into the murderer, I become the murderer, I see what they see, I feel what they feel. I can become the victim, I feel what they feel, I see what they see. I become one with the energy, and I'm there, actually observing the murder, or being part of it. It's bad. It's really bad. Mediumship has nothing to do with psychic. You can be a psychic and not a medium, and a medium and not a psychic. Mediumship is, I'm a telephone. I act as the receiver of what they're saying, and I say what they say to the person that they're talking to, and vice versa. Although they can usually hear the other person can't hear them. Interestingly enough, I've taped sessions where I've done the mediumship, and the voices show up on the tape of the person who's passed, which I think is really cool.
Like an EVP in the background, yeah.
Yeah, they'll say it, and then I'll say it. And then they'll say it, and then I'll say it. It's really, it's wild. Doesn't always happen. Now, there are some people that don't like, I had one gentleman that refused to come through me because he didn't believe in this kind of stuff.
When he had already passed.
Yes. He refused to come through me. I was of the devil or something, you know. He wasn't going to mess with me.
So he was in the outer darkness, apparently?
Yeah, I got him into light. And then there was another man, he's an FBI agent. And they wanted to know how he's doing, and he said, I'm damn bored. Oh my God! I didn't know he's an FBI agent. She said, I figured he's an FBI agent. But he's in heaven, how can you say that?
Needed to sign up for some classes.
Weird things happen, and they don't ever say what you think they're going to say. You know, they say whatever they're going to say, period. I had this one woman, her whole family was in here, and she said, speak to the hand. That was it. She apparently did that a lot. That was an in thing there for a while, apparently.
Okay. Those who have passed that you have spoken with, have they ever told you what it's like on the other side?
Oh, yeah.
You want to give just a little snip?
You want a nib?
Yeah, a little snip.
Just a little nibble?
Yeah.
Okay. First thing that happens is there's this family reunion. Well, that's not the first thing. First thing that happens is they go to their families when they're out of their body, trying to figure out what's happened to them because they don't know what happened. And then they're shown a white light, and they go into that light because a lot of people, when they die normally, loved ones start coming to them about 2 weeks before they die, and they pave the way.
When they have an illness or older or something.
Yeah, they get them prepared. Not always. There's a few rough ones that just, they're going to do what they're going to do. But then they go on to the light. When they go into the light, they get this family reunion. And when I say family reunion, I'm talking outdoor tables, food, people dressed in whatever era that they lived in those kind of clothes, which is really kind of cool because I can tell usually what their like if the German ancestry was German, there'll be German people, Italian, the food. It's really neat. It's really neat. So they have this gigantic family reunion, and it's with great parents, grandparents, great grandparents, cousins, uncles, people they never even knew they knew. Neighbors, anyone that wants to show up for that family reunion shows up, anyone in your lifetime that made it into the light. And they'll be missing people. These are the ones that are earthbound.
And can they do anything about those missing people?
No. Try to send somebody to someone like me to get them help. Because that does happen.
They can do that?
Yeah, they can do that.
And Go ahead.
They also get a lifetime review. The lifetime review, these can be positive, fantastic, wonderful, or really negative. You get to see your mistakes. You get to see the lessons you've learned, the ones you didn't learn, your major failings. It's not a judgment. I need to let you understand. It's not a judgment, and it's not done by anybody else. It's for you and you alone.
And it's not a punishment.
It's not a punishment. It's to show you why and how you made the mistake that you made, and how you can correct it, where you made it, because you don't know unless you can really see it, and you have to be outside of self to see it. So you get a lifetime review. And there was a movie that was done about that forever ago. It's a great movie. I can't remember the name of it, but it was a great movie about a lifetime review, and it was accurate. Not 100%, but it was kind of on target. And then once you do that, you're allowed to be in, quote, heaven. Now what's in heaven? Everything's in heaven. Anything that's here is in heaven. Okay? So if you want to have a little cottage by a rippling brook, you can have the cottage by the rippling brook. If you want to be in the center of a town, you want golden sidewalks, roads, you can have that. Whatever you want. Although it's just not important over there. None of that's important. The material stuff, not that important. But let's say you never traveled. You can travel. Go to foreign countries, foreign places.
Hang glide, bungee jump.
Whatever you want to do.
Fishing.
If you want to study, you want to learn, it's there for you. You can do that too. You can study, you can learn. There's everything for you. I guess that's why they call it heaven.
Isn't it what you want? It's everything that you want. It's your reward.
It's your R&R in between lives. The thing is about heaven is there's no challenge, which is, I learned that through the FBI agent. There's no real challenge there, and everything is wonderful and peaceful, and it's a marvelous opportunity for learning if you want to take it. It's by your choice if you want to come back, when you want to come back. If you want to stay up there for 100 years this time, stay there for 100 years. But so you see there's opportunities that you'll be shown there. And the opportunity is, there's that family that I needed to learn those lessons with, and they're all getting ready to be reborn. And I have the opportunity to be reborn to them again. Here's this group of people that I really need to work some things through, and they're all coming through. Do I need to go ahead and be with that group of people? Probably do. It's your choice. Absolutely your choice, whatever you want to do with it.
So you plan your life out, basically.
You plan your life. You plan your future life. You plan your parents, your siblings, your miserable families, your wonderful families.
But only if you go into the light.
Only if you go in the light. If you don't go into the light, it's whatever you get.
And what's the average time you said?
Average is around 60 years. Average. Get a lot of life. You're
basically a couple generations.
You're immortal. You are immortal. I have people tell me, when I'm done here, I don't want to ever come back. Yeah, well, get over it. Because you probably will. Because obviously you haven't learned enough that you want to come back. I love it here. I think it's great.
So basically 2 to 3 generations.
More than that.
No, I meant your average time in heaven.
Yeah,
2 to 3 generations.
takes that for all those different people.
And here's another segue. Is the time the same for them, or in the outer darkness,
Depends.
as it is here?
It depends. Some of those are stuck in the outer darkness, and they haven't changed a bit. Those that go into the light get the opportunity of changing and learning what their lessons are. Those that get stuck in the outer darkness, you're going to run into those too. And if you haven't changed and they haven't changed, you go through the same muck again. But if you've changed and they haven't, you can kind of skip through them.
And what about time passage?
No time. There's no time.
So their time's different than our time.
Yeah, there's no time.
It's timeless.
It's timeless.
And are there some people? I'm kind of jump back and forth here. Are there some people that are instantly ready to go into the light as soon as they die, and can go straight into that light?
Yes. All of us can. Everyone can. They just don't know it. I'm doing it.
And since this is January, you want to tell how you give yourself that little insurance policy?
Yeah. Well, they can go on carolpate.com. There's a list of prayers for you to do.
Annual prayers.
Annual prayers. Thank you for you to do for insurance purposes. I call it spiritual insurance, to make sure that when you die, if you accidentally die or there's a car wreck and something and you're not prepared, that you'll go into the light. There's a prayer in there to give the Band of Mercy permission that when you leave your physical body, to take you directly into the light in the name of Jesus Christ. That way you're assured. You have to do it once a year. That's free. Free insurance.
And the question is about children. Are they immediately shown that light?
They don't know. They really don't know what to do very often. Sometimes there's variations. There's all these variations. Each human being is unique unto themselves, okay? Children, very often the grandparents will come back if they're in the light and receive the children. Let's say none of the family goes into the light. That child may be lost for a while. Babies always go into the light. But there's echoes of babies. It's like remnant energies. But the baby itself goes into the light.
And that was one of the questions.
And very often there are groups of children that die together, yellow fever, that sort of thing. And they often will stay with each other because they don't know what else to do and they're scared. And they don't want to leave their parents. But then their parents die and move off and they're stuck. Hauntings. That's hauntings. So it does happen.
And there are also children, as I've experienced, are drawn to other children.
Yes.
And to be around schools, playgrounds.
Playgrounds. You know, there's a playground that I was called to by the police department in a local town here. And I went there at night. And the minute you stepped into the playground, the temperature dropped about 15 degrees. And swings started swinging on their own.
Mine did that in my backyard, and that's how I'm familiar with it.
Yeah. It's not uncommon. So yes.
Okay.
These places can be cleared if you can talk to the owner of the place.
And if it's the city and the police called you out there, that
Yes.
gave you permission?
Yes.
Because
I can put
they
it.
had authority.
Yes.
Okay. A gentleman wrote us about a thing that he had read about. He sent the article about when a natural disaster happens and where a lot of people are killed at one time, such as the tsunami that happened in Japan. The story was about taxi drivers seeing ghosts or seeing people that they came and got into their taxis and they were not living people.
Yes. It does happen. It really does happen. It's battlegrounds are notorious for being haunted. The battle keeps going on. Okay? these people don't know they died. They don't know they died. So they keep going over and over and over and trying to live their normal life, or they're still in battle, or whatever the case may be. So it's just the way it is. When you have a lot of people die at once in one place, it's going to be haunted. Plus, on top of that, it imprints. The energy imprints itself. And it causes like a time warp. I'll have to get into that one of these shows. It gets into a time warp where you step into that time warp, and it's a tiny little warp, and suddenly you're back in that time. And I've had it happen to me a few times. One was close to the Alamo, this battleground, and I started hearing guns, yells, screams, and the smell of blood. And it freaked me out. I can't go to battlegrounds. I go right back into what they are. And a lot of people that happens, and a lot of people have filmed on those battlegrounds and have seen the soldiers and the marching. That's for real. That happens. You don't want to live in a house that was used as mortuary, because there's a lot of imprints of traumas that are imprinted and embedded, plus hauntings. So yeah, it's kind of dangerous.
Okay. This is a question more about the psychic side.
Okay.
Would you describe how you get a vision? And do you get these visions of just random people, like when you're in a grocery store or something? Or how does it work for you? Explain that.
It works all kinds of ways for me.
You're more physical object? Pictures?
It can happen randomly. Like I walked into this liquor store, and I got into the threshold of the door, and I got shot. And I went down, I crumbled. I was shot. Well, a week before that, a guy had gotten shot.
Right there.
Right there, in that exact location. And I had no idea. Of course, it freaked the people out. Freaked me out a little. I never know when it might happen. I don't know. I was driving from Jacksonville to Little Rock on the freeway, and suddenly I was a vision of a woman being tormented by a man. I saw her car, I saw her license plate, I saw what she had on, I saw what he had on, and I knew that he was going to murder her. And I was driving on the freeway, and this vision, I can't see cars. All I can see is this vision. How I stayed okay on the freeway, I guess I was protected.
Guardian angel.
Yeah. So the energy of the place, and that's where he had her, by the way, was in that area, that location, at the time that I was driving through. And she did get murdered by it. But I got him. Sometimes, what I've learned to do, I've learned psychometry. It's a way that I can have some minor control over what I do. And that's holding energy of a signature in ink on paper and or a photograph. I can touch in, and I'm like an antenna. I touch in, I turn my antenna to the right station, I get the energy of what's needed. It transfers into my mind, into thought, action, deed, words, feelings. Then I can transpose it into what it is. And that's a way I can kind of protect myself. Because I try to keep turned off when I'm out here in the material world. Because there was a time when I was not protected. I couldn't turn off. I was anything and everything. So I'm kind of like a big antenna that walks around. Example, I met this man and his friend, and I touched his hand, and I knew he had murdered a woman instantly. And I saw how he did it, how and why. Freaked me out. No, I don't need, that's really not true. It didn't freak me out. It startled me, is what it did, because I wasn't expecting. And I felt this gurgling of blood, which I was filled with a murder, coming up into my chest. And that's when I got the vision. And I had to gingerly back off from him. Because what am I going to do? You're a murderer? I don't think so. That doesn't work well for my health. And I've had things like that happen to me a few times in the past. Matter of fact. So, I never know when they're going to happen, how they're going to happen. I've had people randomly come into my house that had passed from their physical bodies, turn my TV off and on a few times, say something to me. Thank God I asked them of mercy to take them into the light or into appropriate protected sanctuary. So I've got that protection now that I didn't have as a child, which I went through a lot of very random, bizarre situations. And I'm here to tell you something. There's a lot of children out there that are very, very psychic. And they don't know what's going on with them. And their parents are telling them they're crazy. And other people are telling them they're witches or whatever the case may be, which is what I was told all my years growing up, which I was a good Baptist. I was not a witch. And a lot of you guys are psychic. And you don't know what to do with it. That's why I did the website. That's why I want you to understand how this works. I want you to know what this is about, what it means. I don't want you to play with this. I want you to give reverence and respect for God, for us as human beings, for us as souls. I think it's important for you. It's important for me. That's why I'm doing the broadcasts.
Keep an open mind when your child tells you something.
Always keep an open mind.
Their invisible friend.
Yeah, they're invisible playmates. They may well be invisible, but they may be actual people.
They may not be invisible to them.
No, they're definitely not invisible to them. No. I had a number of those.
Someone wrote in about having an experience growing up where he would wake up around 3 o'clock every morning and something was almost tormenting him and it scared him, and he'd have to go to his parents' room and sleep by their bed.
Yeah.
But they never believed him.
No. They don't want to believe that. You see, if you really believe in life after death, it means you have to take responsibility for what you do on this earth plane. A lot of people don't want that. They'd like to think, I have no responsibility, I can do anything I want, because when I die, it's done. Nah, it's just beginning.
And the 3 o'clock in the morning?
The 3 a.m. in the morning is notorious demonic. But with demonic, there are always human spirits that are bound in. It's both. And very often UFOs as well. I will not get into that tonight.
Why does it seem that some people, is it random that some people get stuck? And you kind of explain that more so when it's everyone's shown the light.
Everyone's shown the light. Everyone is shown the light. But if you don't know you're dead, you don't know what that light is.
Except for suicides, they're not shown the light, correct?
They're not shown the light.
Until?
It's their appropriate time to pass. And only if they haven't caused them the suicides or harm. Again, I reiterate, If you're afraid to go into the light because of judgment, that's one of the major reasons. If you don't know what the light is, that's another major reason. Another major reason is you don't know your body's dead. You think, well, my God, you're alive. Why would you think dead if you're alive? You're not dead. That kills me. I just talked to the dead. You're talking to somebody without a physical body.
There is no death.
There's transition. It's all transition. There's no death. The body does die. I grant you that. But you cannot kill energy. And you are energy. That's it. You're electrical. You're energy. You can't die. So there are unique reasons. People bind themselves to things. We talked about that. To other people, to places, to probably to phones nowadays.
That's true.
Yeah, it is true. To jewelry. I mean, there's
Glasses.
Yeah, no. Actually, glasses don't. Never mind. That's another
They
subject.
can hold energy.
Everything holds energy. Yes. Unless plastic.
My grandmother's metal frame glasses is what I think
Yeah.
of.
So there's a unique reasons. Some people, I get a lot of people that go, well, I had one lady, I really liked her. Her son had committed suicide. She just knew he was murdered. And the guys that were with him kind of haunted him. But he really, truly committed suicide. She wouldn't believe me. And she just knew, and I got him into the light. She just knew that he wanted her to pursue these people that murdered him and get justice for him. Now there are people that sometimes stay because they want to let people know some information. That does happen. Or that they want them to find something. Maybe their will, that maybe they wanted somebody to get something that they didn't receive. That does happen. There was one case, I think it was in the early 1900s, where this one man wanted his, I think, grandchildren to find his will, and they actually went to court, and he had put his will, sewn it into his jacket. And he came through a medium and told them to look in this jacket that the will was there. And the will was there, and they contested it in court, but they proved it out that it was his writing and that it was him that did this. It was really
That's
cool.
neat.
Yeah, it's really cool. So sometimes that happens. Indians very often will bind themselves.
American
American Indians will bind. It happens worldwide though. They'll bind themselves to land. Now, if you stop and think about it, why would you bind yourself to earth, to land, in the material world? But it happens. Sacred grounds, burial grounds. And they bind themselves, and they'll curse the area. If you mess with this, it causes great havoc. And it does. It's true. So there's all sorts of various reasons that people bind themselves to this material world. And it's foolish. It's all foolish.
Are you aware of any situations that could occur on the other side if, such as other entities, non-human, trying to prevent someone or talk them out of going into the light?
That was my next question.
That's a good question. As a matter of fact, the dark side, as a matter of fact, there was a book put out that I was told about, shown, about which color of light to not go into, and that was the white light, but to go into the red light, which is demonic. Yeah. And since the information about the white light's been getting out there since the late 1800s, the dark side will tell people, don't go into that light, it will burn you. You will be sent to hell. So that does happen. Thank you for bringing that up.
Well, it was a question in
Yeah,
the
it's a
comments.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does. It happens. And they'll be tried dissuade into going into the red light where they'll get bound in. to the demonic side, rather than to go into the white light. So I've had spirits say to me, I've been told that the white light will burn me. They've told me, I say, who's told you? Those hooded people over there, they told me that it would burn me. I said, those are demonic. Put your hand in the light. Really? Yes, put your hand in the light. They put their hand in the light. Does it burn? No. How does it feel? Feels good. Step halfway in. How does it feel? It feels okay. I'm all right. Go all the way in. You're safe. And they go all the way in. I've had to, before I ever did the work that brought me into the knowledge of the Band of Mercy and the formulas, when I would go in for hauntings to get people into the light, I had to talk them into the light. And that was a trip. I learned a lot from that. That was really, really neat for me. I had this one young man, he had died on a road that his mother's hairdresser lived on. So he went to her house because he recognized it. And he wouldn't leave the house. He was scared to death. His name was Bobby. So they asked me to come there and get the ghost out of their house. So I went there and I said, what's your name? He said, my name's Bobby. I can talk to him and I can see him. Sometimes I can see them physically, sometimes I view them in my mind. And I know what they look like. I said, why are you here? He said, this woman was my mother's hairdresser. I said, what's her name? And he gave me the name. I gave her the name. She said, I know that woman. This is her son? Yes, this is her son, Bobby. Bobby, why don't you want to go into the light? Because I told him about the light. He said, I have responsibility for my mother and my younger sister. I can't leave them alone. I have to take care of them. I'm the man of the family. I said, Bobby, you're here, you're stuck, you're not with them. You can't take care of them. He goes, well, what do I do? I said, you really want to help your mom and your sister? He said, oh, yes, ma'am. He's courteous. I said, you go into the light, and they can help you to help your mother and your sister from the light, which will be much better for you, much better for them, and you can help them better. He said, really? I said, yeah. He said, did they have a Domino pizza? I don't know. Let's look and see. So I looked in. Yep, they got a Domino's pizza. He said, I'm gone. And he went into the light. People are just people.
Well, we've just been segueing into these questions tonight. When
Good.
someone passes, what qualities and attributes stay with them? Do they still have their personality?
They do. You retain your personality. You retain your gifts, your talents, whatever your talents are, and you can accumulate talents and gifts. Yes, ma'am. You sure can. So, you've got your personality. You've got your same, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not so good, humor. All the positive things you take with you. The negative stuff you get cleansed from when you go into the light. All that gets cleansed from you. Let's say you're bipolar. When you go in that light, you're cleansed. No bipolar. Let's say you're clinical depressed. You go into that light, it's gone. Schizophrenia. You go into that light, it's gone. You're cleared. So all the negative is removed, all the positive is enhanced. And you can take with you whatever you choose to take with you as gifts. Now, in your next lifetime, you may have been a female in this lifetime, and you choose to be a male in this lifetime because you need the experience to round you out, to give you balance. You may have some problems in dealing with that new body, that new way of thinking, that new concept. So you will shape your personality and your traits to deal with those circumstances of that particular new life.
We're hitting on 9:05.
Oh, we're going overtime, aren't we?
We've been going over a little
Okay.
bit. There's tons of questions we haven't gotten to.
There are.
Tons.
There are.
Tons.
There are.
Okay.
Because we had so many right in ahead of time.
Yeah.
So we will be answering those as soon as possible. They'll be written under the replies, and everyone's welcome to read the responses.
Yes.
And another quick question. We were talking about it beforehand. Are your guides there for you in the outer darkness if you don't go into that light?
No. When you leave your spiritual body, when you leave your material body, your guides are there for you during the time that you are within your material body to guide you through this material world.
Spiritually.
To the illusion. So when you pass from this body, your guides are not there for you. Now, I do believe you could call for your guardian angel to assist you. But the first thing that you do is you call upon the light. And very often, when you pass normally over a slower period of time, angels will come and assist and work with you along with your loved ones. They'll come and assist and help with you and get you acclimated to the concept of life after death. Because unfortunately, it's almost alien to people, the fact that they are actually forever.
And we have to learn that each time.
Yeah, you gotta go. It's such a shame. Now there are, like in India, they know they're eternal. And they know they're going to reincarnate. Of course, they usually reincarnate a little early, but they understand that wheel of life. Here in the Western, no, you're going to heaven, you're going to hell, or nothing's going to happen at all. You're going to just be non-existent. Thank God. God does not need religion.
I agree.
Let's do one more question.
There's just
No.
tons.
Why don't we give phone number, web address, and then do a lifting?
Yep.
Yeah. All right. The address here is 14403 Ironton Road, Little Rock, Arkansas, 72206. Phone number is area code 501-888-8056.
And you can find that right here on Facebook, on your page, and on your website.
Yes, it's all right there. Is everybody ready for the lifting?
Yes.
Okay. I would please ask the Band of Mercy to remove all unclean spirits, thought forms, elementals, unnamed energies from myself and everyone else in the name of Hagoel, Shalom, God Almighty, and in the name of Jesus Christ, and either take them into protected sanctuary or do whatever they deem necessary with them, and I thank thee. I would please ask the appropriate archangel or angels and the appropriate legions to please remove all demonic entities, energies, influences now in the names of Elohim, El-Jar, Jehovah, Yahweh, Hagoel, Shalom, God Almighty, and in the name of Jesus Christ, and either place them in protected sanctuary or do whatever they deem necessary with them, and I thank thee. I would please ask the appropriate archangel or angels and the appropriate legions from the appropriate realms or counter realms to please remove all negative beings, entities, energies, influences now in the names of Insof, Shemhem Farash, Adonai, Shamish, Hagoel, Shalom, God Almighty, and in the name of Jesus Christ, and either place them in protected sanctuary or do whatever they deem necessary with them, and I thank thee. I would please ask the Glory Band of Mercy to remove anything that's attached, affecting, or influencing now and place into protected sanctuary in the name of Hagoel, Shalom, God Almighty, and in the name of Jesus Christ. I would please ask the integral band of mercy to remove anything that's attached, affecting, or influencing now, and place into either protected sanctuary or do whatever they deem necessary with them in the name of Hagoel, Shalom, God Almighty, and in the name of Jesus Christ. And I thank thee. I would ask the Archangel Gabriel to remove all sons of darkness now in the name of God Almighty and in the name of Jesus Christ, and place them into protected sanctuary. And I thank thee.
Okay, so we will be back, not this next Friday, but the Friday after that, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
First and third Friday is
All
when we do this. Good night, everyone, and God bless all of you. Be safe.